Yay. Let's hope the technology stuff works. So this is going to be a 1-hour presentation just on a whole bunch of PBIS stuff combined into an hour. So hopefully we'll get through it all. There's quite a few slides, but I didn't really know what to omit. So the first thing I want to know is just where you guys are on the PBIS continuum. I want you guys to stand up if you've ever attended a Train the Trainer for PBIS. Okay, so we've got quite a few, 7. Okay, how about if you've ever trained others? Stand up if you've ever trained other people in PBIS. Kind of? Okay, thank you. All right. And then you've attended, stand up if you've attended a training by Northwest AEA staff. Okay. Sit down. Stand up if you've heard about PBIS, but you're really not sure how it all works. Okay. Awesome. Thank you, guys. I want you guys to have these links just so you know how you can get, and I'll send Cindy a copy of this just so you have access to it. But these are opportunities for you guys to get the full training for PBIS, for early childhood PBIS. You can always look on the Northwest AEA PD site. And I do trainings at least twice a year. This year it's been a lot more, but I do modules 1 and 2, which is just the first 2 bottom tiers of the pyramid. There's also the online modules. I don't know why the pointer's not working, but there's the online modules, and that's developed by the Pyramid Consortium. So if you guys want to get your online training there, it's $35 to go through one module training. They have an infant toddler training, they have a preschool one, and then they have a birth to 5. So that's an opportunity for you guys to go to too. And if you want to see what it looks like, do you want to see what that? I can show you. Well, if I could.
About that someone might be interested in this for PLC, or if you haven't used your professional leave money and feel like you want to do that this summer in June, you can do that too.
Okay, so this is what it looks like. They have a little intro video. It's not very long. And then they have, I'm sorry, it's $49, not $35. So they have the infant toddler, they have the preschool, and they'll do all 3 modules. Module 1, which is that building relationships and getting the environments, creating supportive environments. They have module 2, which is teaching social emotional strategies. And then they have that module 3, which when I teach it, it's a 15-hour course on itself. But that's that intensive for those at the top of the pyramid, that 1 to 3% of the kids, that intensive. Then they have a birth to 5, modules 1, 2, and 3. So that is there for you. Also, you guys are familiar with AEA Online, right? And that also has, you can get training through AEA Online. And at the bottom, if you ever get an email from me, there's a link at the very bottom, and it just says like Iowa Department of Ed PBIS training link. So anyone in the state of Iowa that lets our, her name's Angie Van Polen, she's kind of like the one person in the Department of Ed who kind of oversees PBIS trainings. everybody who does training sends information to Angie, and then she puts it online on a calendar. So anyone in the state, it's like, oh, I'm really needing the PBIS training, but who's around me that can offer that? You go to that link and she'll have that there too. All right. So, more information. If we get nowhere else, these are some websites that have a lot of good information. If you haven't had a chance to explore them, definitely take the time. The TAXI, the Technical Assistance Center on Social Emotional Intervention, on that one, it's got backpack connections. It's got a whole lot of information. It's got pictures. If you want to do an individual, setting up your schedules, a picture schedule, it's got all kinds of pictures. So that's got a lot of good things. 0 to 3 has a lot of behavior information. Of course, the Cephal website, it's got the Book Nooks. It's got the problem solving, the solution kit for kids. It has the Tucker Turtle, a lot of stuff on there. And then your therapy source just has some movement and brain break activities if teachers are trying to figure out, oh, what can I do for some brain breaks? It's got some nice ideas there. And then, of course, there's Pinterest. And so Early Childhood PBIS Iowa does have their own Pinterest page, too. So when you guys, as consultants, as people that go into the classrooms, if you're going to sell PBIS, you got to get the buy-in. And so I'm going to show you some slides. You can do with them what you want, but for me, I just like to tell people it works. PBIS really works. It's not a quick fix. It's a change in our thinking. It's a change in our attitudes. It's our behavior change that's going to make the difference for our children. We can't change anybody else's behavior, can we? Whose behavior can you change? Yeah, your own. If teachers can put more time up front, getting their relationships in check, getting their environment set up, and really teaching social emotional skills, really teaching how to follow directions, really teaching their expectations and their rules, and this is what we do in our classroom, and this is how we sound in our classroom. If you can get that all set up and put the time up front, you're not going to have to spend all that time putting out fires, and it's just saving yourself time. So that's kind of one buy-in. It's like, oh, wouldn't you like to save yourself some time? Well, I have an idea. And it all starts with building relationships. So the next few slides are just information. Research shows that the main predictor of achievement is a child's perception of, does the teacher like me? Do you ever go into classrooms and you can tell a teacher doesn't like a child? Yeah. So how successful do you think that child's going to be in their academic world if the teacher doesn't like them? Probably not very successful. We've seen this one several times, but it's still worth saying. Every child needs one person who is crazy about him. Who all went to the Centering on Centers this last time? A lot of social emotional, a lot of it takes a relationship. We talked about the ACEs and trauma and how that affects children. If we don't have that one person that you can connect with, then chances are your ACEs are going to pile up and you're not going to be as resilient. So we need to encourage teachers to be that one person. A lot of times, I like to talk to teachers about possible trauma. There might be some videos you could show. I didn't put those in there because we don't have enough time. Just more information. I thought this was interesting. The goal of effective classroom management is not creating perfect children, but providing the perfect environment, using research-based strategies that guide students towards increasingly responsible and motivated behavior. We're not creating perfect kids. Nobody's going to be perfect. But who's in charge of creating the perfect environment? Teachers are. And who can help them with that? You guys. U.S. Department of Ed says studies indicate that approximately 4 out of every 5 disruptive students can be traced to some dysfunction in the way that schools are organized, staff members are trained, or schools are run. 4 out of 5. That's a big number. How about this statement? How a teacher views the child influences how the teacher interacts with the child, which influences who the child becomes. If you get a chance to listen, do you guys ever listen to NPR? Okay, there's a hot link in here. And again, I'll send it to Cindy, and if anyone wants to go through the video and listen. But back in 1964, which I know was a long time ago, there is a psychologist, Robert Rosenthal. Has anybody ever heard of the Rosenthal experiment? Maybe. But what he did, he wanted to see how teachers' perceptions of children influenced their outcomes. So he took an IQ test, renamed it, and said, I found this IQ test, and this is a predictor of which children are like the gifted ones and will do good in school down the road. So all the kids, a teacher gave the kids this test, and he took them back, and then he just randomly selected children, and he said, these are going to be your top performers. They're just randomly chosen. 2 years later, he kept monitoring them, and 2 years later, he found out that those children ended up being the top performers, all because of teachers' perceptions and how they interacted with those children. They gave them more wait time, they gave them more clues, they gave them more eye contact, more gentle pats on the shoulders. It's like, whoa, teachers have a lot of power. We as adults have a lot of power. I thought it's a cool thing. This is taken off the Cephal website, and these I just like to share because they're kind of, again, maybe can hook somebody into buy-in. An estimated 9 to 13% of American children and adolescents between 9 to 17 have serious, diagnosable, emotional or behavioral health disorders resulting in substantial to extreme impairment. This was back in 2002. I would guess it's probably higher. So students with social emotional disorders miss more days of school than any other disability category. More than half of them drop out of grades 9 through 12. And 73% are arrested. The ones who drop out, 73 are arrested within 5 years of leaving school. Children who are identified as hard to manage at ages 3 and 4 have a high probability of continuing to have difficulties into adolescence. What do we know about brain development? The first 3 years, what percentage of your brain is structured and wired? 80%? Yeah. So 80% by age 3, their brain's wired. Their behaviors are wired. Their reactions are wired. Up to age 5, I think we have another 10%. Early appearing aggressive behaviors are the best predictor of juvenile gang membership and violence. This one is the scariest one to me. When aggressive and antisocial behavior has persisted to age 9, further intervention has a poor chance of success. What's that?
Are you going to forward this PowerPoint?
I'll forward it to Cindy, and then she can put it in the folder. Of the young children who show early signs of challenging behavior, it's been estimated that fewer than 10% receive services. Is there hope? Yeah. PBIS can be a hope or a lifeline for these kids. We can change that trajectory. PBIS is a way to reduce the challenging behaviors by increasing their desirable ones through prevention, positive consequences, and teaching what you want. If you want it, teach it. So these are things that children need when they enter school. This was a survey done by kindergarten teachers. They need to have confidence. You've seen those kinds of kids that have confidence, right? The kids that are willing to initiate activities. It's like, oh, yeah, sure, I'll try it. They walk a little straighter. They've got their heads up. They have the capacity to develop good relationships with peers and adults. Sometimes they can get it with adults, but their peer-to-peer is not so great. They can concentrate and persist on challenging tasks. You've seen the little ones that they try to put a puzzle in and throw a fit. Well, let's teach them how to do that. Let's teach them how to concentrate and persist. They're able to effectively communicate their emotions. So we want to teach them some emotional literacy. They're able to listen to instructions and be attentive. That'd be a good skill to have. And they are able to solve social problems. They know how to get their toy back without smacking somebody or making somebody cry. They're able to negotiate. What happens when they don't have each of these skills? Yeah, they call us in. They're going to have behaviors, and teachers call us in, right? They have challenging behaviors often. What we need to get teachers to realize is challenging behavior has a message. It has a purpose. They're usually trying to get something, whether it's a person or an activity or a toy, or they're trying to get out of something. I don't want to go to circle time. I don't want to be by that person. They found out that their behavior works. I look at it like their behavior is a key, and what they get is the lock. So every time they put that behavior in, whether they have to wiggle the lock a little bit, well, I just have to whine a little longer, or scream a little louder, or throw more things. But eventually, I don't have to go to circle time. I can go to the principal's office. I win. We need to teach children what to do instead. Just helping them learn that, oh, that key doesn't work anymore, or we changed the lock, you need a different key. As teachers, when I had training last night, I'm doing a PBIS for some childcare providers and some teachers, and I asked them, I said, what's your title? They're like, we're teachers. I'm like, oh yeah, teachers. And what do you guys do? You teach, right? Yeah, teachers teach. Your label's not, you're not a punisher, right? No, we're not punishers, you're teachers. So let's teach. If a child, I love this one. If a child doesn't know how to read, we teach. If a child doesn't know how to swim, we teach. Multiply, we teach. If a child doesn't know how to drive, we teach. If a child doesn't know how to behave, what do you do? Nobody's taught that child how to behave. If you went to the Centering on Centers, we learned that children in America are developing 9 to 18 months later. So the terrible 2s are now the terrible 4s, or the terrible 3.5. So thinking about that, and then they're not taught, they're just isolated, they're abandoned. And that just, it's like, who's going to teach these kids? Why do we expect them to come into preschool and know how to act, and nobody's taught them? So as teachers, we got to teach them, or we're going to have a whole generation of anti-social, sad little things. Whoops. So the pyramid model, this is a model that starts at the bottom. We put in a lot of effort in that universal promotion part, that tier 1. We really got to work on developing those nurturing relationships. We really have to work on setting up the environment so it's engaging and predictable and safe for children. Really put your energy in there. That's going to take care of 80 for sure, like 80% of your children, it's like, oh yeah, I get it. I know what to do. I know how to manage my behavior. Think in a classroom of 20 children, 80%, that's 16 kids. 16 kids are gonna get it if you just develop those relationships and set up your environment for success. Another 15%, we need to work on that prevention part, that targeted social emotional teaching, really teaching them about emotional literacy, really teaching them how to calm themselves down, really teaching them about learning how to get their toy back, those friendship skills. That very top tier, 1 to 3%, if you can do all this, then you're only going to have one of those kids that needs a behavior intervention plan once every year, maybe 2 years, maybe less. It ties in with RTI or MTSS quite nicely. So the goal of the pyramid model is to promote children's success by creating an environment where every child feels good about coming to school. Have you seen childcare programs or school classrooms where the kids don't want to go? You want to design an environment that promotes child engagement, and you want to focus on teaching children what to do. One of our presenters, I think it was Karen Williams, she said, teaching children what not to do never teaches them what to do. So quit saying, don't run, don't climb, don't. Instead, focus on what do you want it to look like? What do you want them to do? Teach the children the skills that they can use in place of their challenging behaviors. PBIS looks at the old way of doing things. The old way of doing things is you have a general intervention for all behaviors. You hit, you're in timeout. You did that, you go to timeout. Or you go to the principal's office. One size fits all. The intervention is usually reactive. You wait for it to happen. I've been in classrooms before when teachers will stand, it's like, oh, I've had it up to here. Watch this. He's gonna walk over and he's gonna take that toy and then he's gonna do that. I'm like, yep, you know it's gonna happen, so be there to support it and help the kids. But they're reactive. The focus is on behavior reduction. They just want to get rid of that challenging behavior. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but that's their only focus. And have you noticed, whatever it is you focus on, that's what you get? When you focus on, I've noticed that with my own self and with my husband, or, negativity. If you focus on that person being so negative, pretty soon I'm the negative person. Well, let's not focus on that. And the old way versus the new way. The old way, it's a quick fix. Let's do it right now, get it done, and it's quick, but it's short term. The new way, with PBIS, the intervention is matched to the purpose of the behavior. You've heard of that a lot, right? What's the function of the behavior? So you teach the child to meet that function the appropriate way. Intervention is proactive. We set the stage, we get those visuals in place, we get engagement in place. It's like, okay, we're ready. We're gonna help you through this because you guys are into coaching. We're their coach. The children, you're coaching them on the right behavior. The focus is on teaching new skills. You're still working on reducing the behavior, but your focus is promoting and noticing what the children are doing right. Teaching those new skills and then promoting it. And it's long-term. Long-term interventions are going to take a longer time, but they're going to become intrinsic and they're going to last. And here are your visuals. So it starts with us. It starts with teachers. It starts with relationships. By changing our attitudes, we can change the way we feel towards children. There's an activity when you go through the training, it's called the hot button activity, and you think of all of the things. What are the things that are like fingernails on a chalkboard to you? Just drive you crazy. And then you flip it and you think, what might the child, how can I think differently? So if you have a frustrating child in your classroom and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait till this child leaves, you know, she's just a horrible child. But if you flip it and change your thinking, it's like, oh wow, this child is going to be a wonderful opportunity for me to learn some new strategies. It's going to really up my skills. You know, just changing the way you think. Changing the way, trying to get it from the child's viewpoint. You know, if a child's screaming, you might think, he must really be sad, be feeling sad. He misses his mommy. Changing the way we think, it begins in our attitude. Building relationships with children, you need to take time to have those conversations. I heard Sue say today what a conversation is. It's not just one-sided, but it's back and forth conversations. When you have a conversation with somebody, what happens? You communicate. You get to know them. You get to know what they like, what they dislike, who their friends are, what they do at home. Have those conversations. Take time to include their photos in the classroom, because if they walk in, they see their names, but if they see their picture and their family's picture, wow, that's my family. And it makes them feel like that's their room and they belong. Notice their ideas and include their ideas and their creations. If they say, hey, Miss So-and-so, let's change the room this way. Can we put this over here? Why not? Sometimes teachers are in such a power control that it's like, it's okay. It's their classroom too. Make them feel included. Let them have some ownership. Fill their emotional buckets. We all have heard about the fill the bucket thing. What are some things that teachers can do that can fill children's buckets? I'm so glad you're here. Did you see that picture that so-and-so drew? Isn't that amazing the way he used all that green in there? Fill their buckets. Build that sense of community in your classroom. Some of the classrooms that I go into, one in particular, and I think she's like a star teacher, she has this paper marble jar, and when she sees the children doing something that's like, oh my goodness, Jack and Jill just shared the truck. I got to make sure I write that down. Jack and Jill shared the truck during free choice. And then when they come together for like a, what did you do during center time today? She said, and I don't know if you noticed, I have this marble. We're filling our marble jar. Jack and Jill, thank you for sharing. And just different, she notices different things. When the jar is full, the classroom jar is full, they get to have a class party. So they've had popcorn parties, they've had pajama parties, they've had it's a sense of community. Rather than pitting one kid against another child, they work as a community to get a classroom goal. And then also, when you build relationships, you want to definitely connect with the children's families. I just looked at the time. I got a buzz. Children who have the most challenging behaviors especially need these relationships because they get it the least. So make sure you give those children, when they're on target, when they're doing the right thing, even if it's the tiniest little thing you see them doing, make sure you notice it so they can be a part of that community building marble jar too. So here's how to make some individual deposits, filling their buckets. You can call home. Typically, teachers call home when the child's done something wrong. And that immediately sets up a wall of defensiveness, and your relationship with that family isn't going to be as good. So your first call home needs to be something positive. Hey, just wanted to let you know I was so proud today, and let the child hear if you want. That even builds them up more. I was so proud today that Johnny helped Joyce put glue on her picture. Have a special t-shirt. Read, play, acknowledge the children when they're absent. Hey, I missed you yesterday. What happened? Or call home. I noticed you weren't in school today. I just wanted to let you know we missed you. We made you a card. Some all about me posters, and I'm going to flip through these quite quickly. Attendance and helper charts. Here's building that sense of community, some groovy helpers. Family treasures. So you get that relationship part in there, and then we got to work on the environment. The environment needs to make sure every child's engaged. You want to make sure it's there for everyone, no matter what their ability is. And then you want to make accommodations and provide support when necessary. So here's a preschool classroom arrangement. The goal is to have places that are attractive, comfortable, and well organized. Because when you walk in somewhere that it's comfortable, it's well organized, it's attractive, it smells nice, people are friendly, you want to be there, right? Think of your favorite store. What do you like about it? Think about the stores that you hate to go to. Can I help you? Can I help you? Would you like this? Would you like that? Annoying, right? Or if it smells bad, or if it's too bright or too loud. The environment says a lot for behavior. Supportive environments are safe, they're accessible, they're engaging, and they're predictable. They're print rich and they have words and pictures. Classrooms that have labels where children know exactly where to put things when they're finished, where to find them when they're looking for something, they need to have labels. Those are supportive environments. When they know right where to stand, when it's time to line up, where they know where the boundaries are, that's a supportive environment. Where they know where to stop, I don't touch these things because there's a stop sign on it, that's supportive. A classroom that's supportive has lots of visuals. Visuals, I found this on a website and I thought it was worth sharing. 9 reasons to use visuals. Visuals are permanent. They allow time for us to think and process. They prepare us for transitions and they help children see what the expectations or the rules are. They help all students. They build independence. You can transfer them between people and environments. Visuals have no attitude, and they reduce anxiety. How many of you use a phone or a calendar or a clock? It's all visual. Let's give children visuals too. Here's a dramatic play visual support. I thought this was kind of cool. It's just ideas. When children go into dramatic play, it gives them options, and it's kind of hard to see, but it's like, what can we play when we're there? They can play dress up. They can play a party. Outside, visuals tells children where to stand, where to stop, where to line up. This one I thought was pretty cool. They get outside and sometimes they don't know what to do outside either, so just an outside game visual. Here's some ideas for things you can do, but if you want, you can choose your own ideas. As teachers, I would like them just to stand in their room, and this is just one that you could take to teachers. Mentally stand in the center of your classrooms. Is there clear entry? Talking about environments. Is each center inviting? Does it look messy? Does it look like it's got enough things in there? Is there a way to enter and exit? Are the activities relevant to the children and their interests and their lives? Or is it all about pilgrims and things that don't really mean anything? Part of environment setting up is just making sure that you have routines and schedules. You do the same things every day. You teach those routines, you teach those schedules. A routine is a sequence of action or actions within a schedule. So a schedule is your big, long sequence of daily events, and then the routines are the things within those events. We need to have them visual, again, because they tell what is happening and what is not happening. If you show children the big picture, it reduces their anxiety. If you show them what happens next, and it's like, oh, and Sally, I think, has a really good, just what you shared with me. One little child was sad when they came in the morning and just cried because they wanted mommy. But all they had to do was stick mom's picture in the schedule, and she knew at the end of the day she got to see mom. And it just solved the problem. Visual schedules and routines facilitate transitions, shows what choices might be available, prepares for something that is going to change. Always, if you're going to have a change in your daily routine, let children know. I think Laura, yesterday, we were at a daycare, a childcare, and she said all she has to do is show one little child, it's an orange triangle, and they feel that orange triangle, and he just stops and waits for that change in the routine because he knows something's going to be different, and he just waits for it. But it calms him. He doesn't throw a fit. He just waits for it. So
and
just
it
let
doesn't
him.
matter what he's doing. He might be engaged in the most fun activity of his life. And if his teacher gives him that triangle, he just stops. Away. It's amazing.
We're doing that with a little blind baby that we have. It's
Okay.
schedule.
Okay.
He knows to transition and what's coming, and it's working beautifully. I mean, we're just starting it, but
Right.
the importance of it, especially if you take that component you can't see, you
Right.
can hear, but
Yeah. Those schedules are just, I mean, they're powerful. So here's just some, I'm going to flip through fast. Here's an arrival routine, hand washing routine, an arrival routine, craft activity with visual directions. Do you see where children can become more independent? They know what to expect. They know how to perform. There's different types of schedules. We've talked about some. Here's the object schedule. Use real objects. Symbols and words. Still in tier 1, and we only have 15 minutes, so we're going to go fast. Giving directions. This is all tier 1 stuff. We need to learn how to give directions. We need to have expectations, and how do we implement them? We need to have rules. How do we implement them? And how do we make our transitions work? So when you give directions, you definitely want to get the attention of the children, get on the same level, have eye contact, minimize how many steps or commands that you give them at once. 2 to 3 max is probably about right. But sometimes you hear many, many more steps. Be clear, give choices when appropriate, and always state the direction in a positive way. Again, tell them what to do. Allow that wait time, that think time to process and to respond. 5 seconds is a good rule of thumb. And sometimes, because I'll ask a question and then I'll ask another question, I need to literally pat my thigh 5 times because I don't allow that wait time. So I have to work on that. And then acknowledge their behavior. When you see children following the direction, tell them you noticed and you appreciate it. This was an activity that I do. We won't do it today, but again, it's just thinking about stating it positively. So when you, and I don't know if you can see them that great, but instead of saying don't run, what do you want them to do? Walk. And then when you notice them walking, what could you say? Thumbs up. I appreciate you walking. And we did that with each one of these activities. Expectations and rules. Expectations are broad concepts, usually have about 3 to 5. They're always stated positively, they're memorable, and they can be across contexts. And the ones I can think of are like, be safe, be kind, be responsible. You see that sometimes you walk into a building and it's like, this is the Wolverine way, be safe, be kind, be responsible. Rules are aligned with the expectations, but they're more specific. They're specific to the time of the day or the context. They might be specific to different areas. They're clear, they're measurable, and they're able to be modeled. Expectations are those characteristics or those qualities that we want children to have internally. They're typically created by adults, and they're not rules. Guidelines. You only have 3 to 5. Keep them developmentally appropriate. Make them applicable not only to the children, but also to staff. If you're going to tell children to be kind and be safe and be responsible, then we better too. If they see us standing on one leg with the chair on the table and trying to change a light bulb, that's not being safe, Miss Brenda. I need to do that too. We need to post our expectations, teach them, and promote them. So here's some examples. Be safe, be respectful, be a team player, be kind, be honest, be responsible, take care of our school, be fair, work together, help each other. Why are those ones on the right side non-examples? Here's some negatives. Can they be applied across all settings? No talking? Can we do no talking in all settings? No, because we have to talk sometime. Use your fork. Is that appropriate for the, I don't know, art center? No. So we talked about expectations. Now let's look at rules. Rules are also just a few. It works best if you can involve children to create the rules. Why do you think that is? Yeah, because they have ownership. If they're going to help create it, then they're more apt to follow them. Again, you post them visually. You teach them throughout the day. You actually plan to teach your rules, and then you reinforce them a lot at the beginning, and then sporadically, usually on Mondays, usually after long breaks, or if a child's sick, or when a child's new to the classroom. Rules should address noise level, movement, interaction with property, adults, and peers. They need to be taught and promoted when observed. So here's some example of some circle time rules. Library center rules. Playground. This one I thought was really cool. This is from one of my participants in a PBIS class I taught. She has her center pictures, but then she also has her rules or expectations built within. So children go to that center, they know what's expected of them. I thought those were kind of cool. Here's some rules I love. If you guys haven't purchased this book, it's a nice one to have. The Incredible 5-Point Scale book. You can make your own. So this one you can find on, I think it's on the internet. Just because I wanted to match the 5-point scale with green on the bottom, I had to do some cut and paste. But when you teach these, you teach children explicitly what a 1 looks like. Boys and girls, let's put our fingers on our mouth. We're doing a number 1. Number 2, we're going to say our name in a number 2 voice. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. We're whispering. And you teach it. You go up and down the scale. I love that for teaching. We did that last night, and everybody was so excited, like, oh my gosh, this would work in our classroom. The nice touches, again, you teach it. And this one, was, again, I used that cut and pasted thing, so it's not the prettiest, but when we're talking about nice touches, you would say, boys and girls, is it okay? Is it okay to play by yourself? Is that okay? Does that hurt anybody? No, that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. Let's give it a happy face. That's okay. Let's do thumbs up. How about when you're playing beside somebody and you're sharing and you're taking turns? Is that okay? Yeah, that's okay. Number 2, yeah, that's okay. It's okay to play beside somebody. How about when you're touching people with a gentle touch? Is that okay? Is it okay to touch people with a gentle touch? Yeah, that's okay. And we practice some gentle touchings. How about if you break somebody's toys or you push over their block tower? Is that okay? No, destroying property, that's not okay. That's not okay. Let's give that a sad face. Is it okay to hurt somebody's bodies? No, that's not okay, because we're safe here. This is a safe classroom, so we can't do those kinds of things. That's not okay. So just teaching, practicing, promoting, having the visuals. This is just a matrix that links the expectations on the side, the settings across the top, and then they put the rules within that. So the rules are matching the expectations. So what I had, so there's the social skill, there's the natural context, behavior examples. What does it look like? What does it sound like? It needs to be concrete. So then I had the group last night, they had to put their behavior expectations along the side, the settings across the top, and what possible rules, I know the kids weren't there to help, but what possible rules could you have within your classrooms? So that's something you could do with teachers. Transitions, tough. Here's a slide that talks about how to have smooth transitions. I think the main point is plan for them. Plan for your transitions. They have a beginning, they have an end. And again, teachers are teachers. Make every moment a teaching moment, a teachable moment. Plan for those transitions and teach something. Make sure children are engaged. Before something happens, obviously we want to have cues. So here's a couple examples I thought were pretty cool. Using the 5-point timer. Is everyone familiar with the 5-point timer? Okay. So the 5-point timer, this one, again, just because the child was into Mr. Potato Head, so they used one with the child preference. This is another example of a 5-point timer. A teacher was using a Pete the Cat theme, and so she wanted to incorporate the Pete the Cat buttons, but then at the end, she had what the next activity was, which I thought was pretty cool. She also used a 5-point timer on a glove, and when she got down to 0, whatever was in the middle is what came next. So this was her countdown to rest time. Transitions with a choice. It's time to line up. Would you like to stand on number 7 or number 2? This is an old photo from the PBIS website, but just gives you an idea of however many necklaces there are, that's how many children can go to those centers. This is a supportive room culture. It's attractive. Children know what to do. They know how many children can be in a center. Lots of visuals. We talked about those classroom, building a classroom community. Here's some possible reinforcements. The popcorn party, the pajama day, beach or camping day, spirit day. I don't know what extra day would be. Crazy day and dress up day. And you can do it a variety of different ways. We're going to talk a little bit about positive feedback versus praise. I know I'm just shooting stuff at you, but I only have an hour. So praise, we kind of think it's okay, right? Praise tells a child, you're great because you did something. But what if you didn't do that something? Would you still be great? Sets up a pattern of expectation. Sometimes excessive praise makes a person dependent upon that approval. Well, I'm not going to do this unless I get a sticker. I'm not going to do that unless I get whatever. It uses you messages. Praise says, what a wonderful child you are. Like, you're the best little girl in the whole wide world. You cleaned your room. Feedback, positive feedback, helps a child feel like they belong and are capable and appreciated. It develops their confidence in their own abilities. It talks more about their effort than about what they did. They're trying to please themselves more than they're trying to please somebody else. So when we give positive feedback, I think it's the next slide, we want to make sure it's contingent upon their behavior. Notice what it was explicitly that they did. It's descriptive and it's linked to their behavior. And it's conveyed with enthusiasm. Kids know when we're faking it. And we can also make it contingent upon their effort. It could be as simple as, oh my goodness, you are trying so hard to take that boot off by yourself. You must be so proud. You got your heel out. That's awesome. Contingent upon their effort, conveyed with enthusiasm. We've got 5 minutes to talk about teaching targeted social emotional supports. That's the next part of that pyramid. So teach me what to do instead. Friendship skills. On the way out, you guys can pick up this friendship skills handout. It just talks about the 7, I believe there's 7 different friendship skills we want to teach. We're going to look at following rules, routines and directions, identifying feelings in self and others, controlling angers and impulses, and problem solving. And again, these I'm just going to let you guys flip through on your own, but I'm going to go through them quick. These are the friendship skills that's on the sheet. When you set the stage for friendship, you want to make sure everyone feels welcome, and you want to have some of those cooperative toys, those toys like that take 2 people in order to play. In classrooms that have atmospheres of friendship, this is what you see, and that's what you should hear. When you walk into classrooms that have that friendship atmosphere, take this with you. Check it off. Am I seeing it? Am I hearing it? If not, how can I support and coach this teacher? Here's some samples of things that you can help teachers. It's like, what about a friendship can? What about planting a plant together? What ideas do you have? Emotional literacy is something that on that second tier, we want to make sure that we're teaching children about emotions, about their own feelings and about the feelings of others. Children with strong emotional literacy, they're able to tolerate frustration better. They get in fewer fights. They have less destructive behavior. They're healthier, less lonely, less impulsive, more focused, and have greater academic achievement. Don't you want that for all of your students? Yeah, so let's teach them some emotional words, not just happy, sad, mad, and glad, but think of all of the words that we use that describe emotions, and let's look at them in books. Let's look at them on our videos. Let's talk about them. Here's some ways that you can teach emotional literacy. Some resources available, and just some understandings about feelings. One of the things I had learned and forgotten and had to go back and relearn, but when we talk about feelings, we need to remember to say, I feel mad versus I am mad. I feel, because feelings can change. And if we can get children to notice that feelings change, it's like, you don't have to be stuck there. I know you're feeling sad right now, or I know you're feeling mad right now, angry, frustrated. I'll be here when it changes. You can have more than one feeling about something. You can feel differently than someone else about the same thing. We all don't have the same reactions. All feelings are valid, and it's what you do with them that counts. Characteristics of classrooms that foster that emotional literacy have these. When we're validating emotions, we want to make sure that they know that their emotions are okay. It's okay to feel angry. It's okay. Anger is a real emotion. If they're hurt and feeling sad, don't just brush it off and say, "Ah, get up, you're all right." Give it a kiss, you're done. That's what I did, and it was the wrong thing. It invalidates the child's feelings. So make sure that we're letting them know all feelings are okay. These are some things that we need to teach when we're doing anger management and self-control. This is tools that you guys have. Smell the flowers. Blow out the candles. Centering on centers, we learned about that 4 square breath. Smell the candles. I'm sorry, the flowers. Blow out the candles. Or we have the Tucker Turtle technique. Take 3 deep breaths. Relaxed. And you guys have taught the relaxed, stressed thing. That's another, like a 5-minute thing, but it's pretty awesome. Children need to learn some appropriate ways, some options to express anger. Have teachers come up with ways that children can express anger in their classrooms. Here's some self-control games. Need to have a quiet spot, a calming center, a Zen station. And you need to help them problem solve. How do I get my toy back? How do I get that toy? Because I really want that toy. How to negotiate. The Cephal website has a lot of nice tools for you already. There's, I believe, 10 visuals that you can use, and you teach each one individually. You teach, you model, you practice, and you promote it, and then you put that on your toolkit, and then you teach another one. Practice, model, promote it, and then you have 2, and then you teach another one. The flip it, that's for us. When we learn that at Centering on Centers. This is how we can help children, but again, number 3 is helping that child to think about possible solutions. You could use some of those in the solution kit. And we made it. Major messages: positive relationships, set up a supportive environment to prevent and teach. And that's it. Any questions? I feel like I just had to whip, but okay.
Thank you, Brenda. Just a reminder, any preschool that we're working with that we feel would be supports for PBIS, we can contact you.
Sure.
To let them know that, to make sure we know about training. Then there's a few things on the agenda I just want to make sure I point out yet. You may have seen that protocol request